the bow into the stern. And reason being is because the grain, when the board comes in, the grain's coming this way, and if I was to come around and have the plane going this way, I would pick up that grain and that would rip right out. So because it's curving this way, that's the way I'm working it. So from midship or from the middle of the board up to the bow. And what I have here is this green piece of tape. That's marking the top of where my rail is, so that when I'm planing and taking away a lot of material right now, when I get to that green tape, I want to stop right there, because if I start chewing into that rail, then I'm going to have no support right there. So that's where where it's starting to get chipped up. I'm just leaving it, and then I'm going to come in with the sander and get that down to probably work an 80 grit at first, and then work my way up. I've been thinking about getting some sort of fairing block made up, but how true are you going to get a board really when you're just doing a home job like this? There we go. Now that's going to be sanded over, smoother than a baby's bottom. So here at the bow, I'm just getting this roughed over as best as possible. You can see right here where it's starting to get a little fray. It's because I'm going 90 degrees to the grain here with my plane, so it's getting chopped up a little. So what I want to do is come in here with a little hand file, and I can finish this off. Well, no one said that you could build one of these overnight, so I got about 6 hours of sanding in it right now. It's been about 3 nights. I didn't want to show you all that, but palm sander, start with an 80 grit. You can really move some material and just cut this wood right in half with the 80 grit, and then work your way up. I think this is 150, and I also did an 80 grit on top with the orbital sander, but it left a few pigtails. So I really had to dig in, with the 150 to remove some of those pigtails. So a little bit of glue coming up right here. Now it's difficult to get in there. Just make note when you're doing these rails, wipe up as much glue as possible when you're in the gluing stage. You know what? I can't get any better than this, so I'm happy with it. I got some 220 here. I'm just gonna go over this with my hand. Just try and smooth this out, just these round corners here, as best as possible. So we're at the bow now, same idea. Now you can see here, I've got the deck, it's on some sort of a small angle here. I want to maintain that angle as I go around the bow here, so it'll make everything sort of look even. It's nice that there's a nice solid piece of wood in there, because I can smash this into something and I know I'm not going to puncture it. I'm just going to damage this big nose here and then splash some more epoxy on it. Should be good. So I've got the board ready for epoxy resin. What I've done is I've added this tape or drip line all the way around there. And what I'm going to do is the first layer of resin here is not going to have any cloth. It's just going to be like a cheater sealer layer. And what it's going to do is it's going to come in here and fill all these voids, just like I want it really soaked and penetrated with epoxy before I put the cloth on. I've also decided I'm going to start with the bottom first because I'm not used to working with epoxy, so if there's any mistakes, hopefully you won't see it on the bottom. So here's the setup that we did. I wiped the entire board down with the tack cloth, and then I went in with methyl hydrate, but you can use denatured alcohol or any strong alcohol as long as it evaporates quickly. And you can actually see in this rag, all the yellow that's all the dust I collected from that alcohol. We're using West Systems here, the 105 resin, and the 207 hardener, which is the clear hardener. So what we're going to do is a couple pumps. Maybe a quarter of this cup. We're going to see where that takes us. I'm going to stir this for probably 1 minute, 2 minutes. Scrape the sides, make sure it's mixed really well. Well, I'm not really sure what to do here. I'm just going to learn by fire, so mix this up pretty good. And I'm just going to start on one side, and I think maybe work my way from one end to the other. Past the point of no return right now. Okay, it's not that bad. First, I had a practice piece, and I used a crappier scraper, but this is going much better. So you can tell as soon as it hits that wood, it's absorbing and changing the color of the wood. And I'm just taking my excess and I'm wiping it on the other side. So I'm going to get back to there. And I'm going to wipe with the grain on the side that I've just done, so that hopefully if there's any streaks, they'll go with the grain. Right now this sort of has the consistency of paint. I had to switch brushes. The foam brush was too soft. You can tell that this cedar just absorbs the resin because it changes color. And actually on the top, like some spots are, I know it's wet, but some spots are actually looks dry. They're not glossy. So you can see here, the end grain has really, it's already sucked in a lot of this this resin, this epoxy, so I'm going over it again here, just to make sure, you know. Never hurts really, more the merrier, I guess. You make it this far, I guess the idea is to not touch it and let it cure. So what I'll do off camera is I'll flip the board over and I'll do the exact same process on the deck as I did the hull. So I won't show that because it's obviously just the same. And then what I'll do is I'll sand the whole board with a Scotch-Brite or 1000 grit sandpaper to get it ready for the glassing stage. And then I'll continue videoing when I put the glass on and do the lamination. So until then, thanks for watching and thanks to all the new subscribers.